Episode 2, The Roswell UFO Mystery, What Really Happened in 1947. The views expressed in the film are not necessarily the views of You Think You Know UFO's channel, nor any of its subsidiaries or any other person involved in the making and distribution of the film. You Think You Know UFO's channel does not warrant any accuracy, reliability, or completeness of those views or statements and does not accept any legal liability whatsoever arising from any reliance on the views, statements, and subject matter of the film. The Roswell UFO Mystery. What really happened in 1947? Scenes, pictures, displays of what was portrayed on the night of 1947 in Roswell are all collections of information in the most known detail from the interviews and witnesses, testimonies, and accounts from historians, online archives. The author will attempt to portray the best known account of what happened that night in 1947. Stay tuned and enjoy You Think You Know UFO's channel, Season 1, Episode 2, The Roswell UFO Mystery. What really happened in 1947? The Roswell UFO Mystery. What really happened in 1947? Part 1, The UFO Discovery. Welcome back to You Think You Know UFOs. I'm your host, and tonight we're going back to where it all began, the event that started it all, the story that transformed the UFOs from whispered campfire tales into a worldwide mystery that still echoes throughout every alien documentary, every classified leak, and every late-night conversation about what's really out there. This is the Roswell Incident, the spark that lit the fuse of modern UFO lure. Let's rewind to summer of 1947. America has just emerged from World War II. The atomic age was here. Technology was advancing faster than ever before. Radar, rockets, nuclear testing. The skies had become a new frontier filled with both wonder and fear. And then something happened out there in the quiet deserts of New Mexico. Something that would change the way humanity looks at the skies forever. In late June and early July 1947, a rancher named W.W. Mac Brazel was making his usual rounds on a sheep ranch about 75 miles north of Roswell. He wasn't a man looking for mysteries, just tending his land. But that morning, something strange caught his eye. Scattered across the pasture were shards of debris, not like the kind of junk you'd expect to see on a ranch. Thin metallic sticks, foil-like sheets that didn't tear a bird, rubber-like materials that didn't seem to come from anything he'd ever seen. The field stretched out for hundreds of yards, glittering in the sunlight. Whatever this was, it wasn't a plane crash, and it definitely wasn't from Earth. Farm equipment. At first, Brazel didn't think much of it. He gathered the pieces and stored them in a shed. Days later, he began hearing locals chatter about rumors about flying discs being in the skies. That's when he had the idea, and it hit him. Could the strange wreckage be one of those so-called flying saucers everyone's talking about? A so-called saucer, huh? So Brazel decided to make a report. He went to the local sheriff, George Wilcox, and told him about the discovery. Wilcox not sure what to make of it. reached out to the nearby Roswell Army airfield, the same base responsible for nuclear weapons transport and advanced flight testing. Within hours, military personnel arrived. They didn't just take a look, they sealed off the area. Soldiers combed the land, picking up every fragment of the debris. Truckloads of it were hauled away, guarded carefully. The operation was fast, efficient, and no recordings, but some recordings and accounts of witnesses, usually secretive for a simple weather balloon incident, if you ask me.
Had found fragments of the mystery object crashed on a remote ranch northwest of Roswell. Excitement ran high until officials announced it was only a weather balloon. Major Jesse Marcel, in charge of the operation, now tells a far different story.
They took pictures, of course. They had a whole flock of microphones there. They wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that. So all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Ramey is the one who discussed, told the newspapers, the newsmen, what it was and to forget about it. It was nothing more than a weather observation balloon. Of course, which we both knew differently.
Major Marcel had to keep silent because of his strategic position at that time. He was in charge of all security and intelligence on atomic tests in the United States and the Pacific. Marcel retraced his secret recovery operation across the hot New Mexico desert.
We left Roswell perhaps around 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As you can see, it's flat. It is very difficult. In fact, with just verbal directions, we never would have found it. We had to follow the ranch around there.
The crash site was so remote, it took an entire day to drive there.
The following morning, we went out to the site where the crash was. And what I saw, I couldn't believe there was so much of it. It was scattered over such a vast area. So we proceeded to pick up as much of the debris as we could, loaded in a wagon. We filled that up. It took us a good part of the day to do that, because there's such small fragments, and we had to do a lot of picking. We found a piece of metal about a foot and a half to 2 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet long. It felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than the foil out of a pack of cigarettes. But the thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it. You couldn't dead it, even though the sledgehammer would bounce off it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was.
There is new evidence that the FBI then got into the case with a different cover story. Lawyer Peter Gersten, searching through declassified government documents, came across a mention of the Roswell case.
Was an experimental kite. The FBI investigated the incident and determined that it was terrestrial, that it was from an organization which had been doing research in experimental kites.
What did crash in this desert? A UFO? A weather balloon? A radar-reflecting kite?
It was not anything from this earth that I'm quite sure of, because I was being an intelligence officer. I was familiar with just about all materials used in aircraft and our air travel. This was nothing like that. It could not be. It could not have been.
Whatever Brazel found, the Army wanted it gone. Then came the moment that would make Roswell a global sensation. On July 8th, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release and shocked the world. They announced that they had recovered a flying saucer. Yes, the exact phrase, flying saucer. The local paper, the Roswell Daily, printed it from, and then 24 hours later, the story changed. The same military base that had proudly announced that they captured a flying saucer suddenly called a press conference. Now they said it wasn't a flying saucer at all, it was just a weather balloon. To prove it, they released photos showing air officers posing with what appeared to be balloon debris, tinfoil, rubber, and sticks. The explanation was simple, neat, and completely unsatisfying. People who had seen the original debris, including Brazel himself, said what the press was shown didn't look anything like what was been out there in the field, but from what the day on, the officials' line was clear. No UFO, no crash, just a weather balloon. Nothing to see here, folks. Go on with your merry own ways. Typically what we're usually told during these circumstances. Still, questions remain. If it was just a balloon, why the sudden secrecy? Why the armored trucks? Why the press release at all? And why such a dramatic retraction? On the contrary, that single shift in the story would echo through the next 70 years and fuel one of the greatest mysteries in American history. The cover-up claims, the eyewitness accounts, and the secret projects the government was really just weather balloon or something else entirely. Stay tuned. I'm your host, and you're listening to Think You Know UFOs. Part 2, the cover-up and the secret projects. Welcome back to You Think You Know UFOs. When we left off, the U.S. military had just done a 180 from going to flying saucers recovery to just a weather balloon. For most people, the story should have ended there. But for others, it was just beginning. Because something about that retraction didn't sit right. The speed, the precision, the tone of the command, it felt like the lid had been slammed shut on a box that was never meant to be open. Over the next few days, the rancher Mac Brazel found himself under quiet but heavy scrutiny. According to the neighbors and later interviews, Brazel was brought in by the military for questioning, and when he returned, he seemed changed. He wasn't talking about the debris anymore. Some even said he'd been warned not to. Then, almost as quickly as it began, the story disappeared from the front pages. It was replaced by baseball scores, local politics, and an ordinary hum of post-war America. But under the surface, something was stirring.
This meant true people of our age group. And the government was right, and the policeman was right, and the priest was right, and mom and dad were right, the school board was right. Anybody that was in authority knew what was best and how we should think, and they told us how to think.
But I never told my dad he was crazy.
Shouldn't I let my government know that I think they're crazy? I think they are insane, really. This is an insane thing we're doing.
How will you say it?
How should I say it?
In the late 1970s, the Roswell case came roaring back into public view. A retired Army officer named Major Jesse Marcel, one of the men who handled the original debris, finally spoke out. In interviews, Marcel said plainly that the material he saw in 1947 wasn't from a weather balloon. He described metallic fragments that were incredibly light yet impossible to bend, and strange symbols or hieroglyphs on some of the beams. If you watch one of our other videos, you'll see where that connects in with the Boogosphere. Tune into our other videos. He insisted the military cover story was just a cover. The single confession reignited the Roswell firestorm. The UFO researchers, journalists, and even former military staff began digging. Books were written, documentaries were filmed, and witnesses who stayed silent for decades started sharing what they saw then in the 1990s, the U.S. government finally released more information. The Air Force declassified the documents, revealing that, yes, something secret had been going on back then, something called Project Mogul. Project Mogul was a top-secret Cold War program. Its purpose, to use high-altitude balloons equipped with acoustic sensors to detect Soviet nuclear test explosions. The materials used were experimental, including lightweight metallic foils, strange plastics, and radar reflectors that could have easily confused anyone unfamiliar with them. According to the official report, that's exactly what Mac Brazel found, remnants of one of these Project Mogul balloons, and not alien debris, just classified military equipment that the public wasn't supposed to know about in 1947. On one paper, that sounds reasonable, but here's where the story gets tricky. Even the Project Mogul explanation couldn't fully account for all the eyewitness claims, the unusual properties of debris, lightning fast military responses, or the claims about recovery. So, Project Mogul, a convenient truth or just another layer on the cover-up? Let's think about the timeline. In 1947, America has just entered the nuclear age. The Cold War was heating up. The government was desperate to protect its secrets, and the public was fascinated and terrified by anything that might hint at a power beyond our control. It could be that really fell in Roswell was something human, but so advanced, so secret, that it looked alien even to our own military. Or was it truly something else, something not from this earth? It's a duality that keeps Roswell alive, the balance between a rational explanation and a mystery too big to let go. As the years rolled on, the story took a life of its own. Hollywood picked it up. Books and documentaries blurred the facts with speculation. Witnesses passed away, taking secrets with them, but Roswell became more than just an event. It became a symbol of government secrecy, of course about our universe, and the constant question that has driven humanity since the beginning. Are we alone? And if we are not, has the proof already been hidden? Has it been tucked away? Will they ever tell us the truth? Or will they keep it a secret forever? In part 3, we'll look at how Roswell changed the world, how that one mysterious night shaped the entire UFO movement, inspired generations of truth seekers, and continues to challenge what we think we know about the place in the cosmos. Stay tuned. You're listening to You Think You Know UFOs channel. Welcome back to You Think You Know UFOs. We followed the trail from the lonely New Mexico ranch through the military's sudden retraction and into the secret corridors of Cold War projects. But the story doesn't end there, not even close, because Roswell didn't just vanish into the desert dust of 1947. It became something bigger, something that would redefine how the world talks about UFOs, aliens, and the government's secrecy. After the Air Force's official explanation came out in the 1990s saying it was all just a Project Mogul balloon, many thought the mystery had been solved, case closed. But instead of ending the conversation, it sparked a revolution. See, Roswell wasn't just about one crash. It was about us, trust in what we're told and what we're not. The event opened people's eyes to the simple but unsettling thought: if the government couldn't easily change its story once, how many times had it done so before? From the moment on, UFOs, or UAPs as they're now called, became more than a fringe curiosity, they became a movement. By the late 20th century, Roswell was everywhere in television shows, movies, books, and late-night radio. Shows like The X-Files built entire storylines around it. Tourists began flocking to Roswell, and that was once a quiet ranching town turned into a UFO capital of the world. Every July, thousands gathered there for the annual Roswell UFO Festival, dressed in silver costumes, green alien masks, celebrating the unknown with a smile and a wink. It's part of history, pop culture, pop pilgrimage. But underneath all that fun, there's still something serious, a heartbeat of genuine mystery. Because no matter how many official reports are released, no matter how many times the word weather is repeated, people still feel that something about Roswell doesn't quite add up. Eyewitness accounts, declassified documents, and new technology have given rise to new theories. Some researchers believe there were 2 crash sites, not one. Others suggest that they fell alien, but early prototype of advanced aircraft technology classified that even most of the military didn't exist. Then there was those who take the leap believing craft was not of this world, that the debris were reverse engineered, and the alien technology may have quietly accelerated its own progress. Microchips, fiber optics, stealth materials, night vision, all trace back to the desert crash no one was supposed to talk about. Because if Roswell really was proof of extraterrestrial life, it means humanity has been living with that truth in shadows for nearly 80 years. And that raises questions that go beyond science fiction. And if they're here, what do we do next? And what do they do next? Why haven't they revealed themselves? And the biggest question of all, are we ready to know? Roswell represents more than a mystery. It's a mirror. It reflects who we are and how we respond to the unknown. Some see fear, others curiosity, and some hope, because this search for answers is out there, and really, a search for understanding is here within ourselves. Maybe Roswell crash wasn't about aliens at all. Maybe it's about how humanity reacts when faced with something it can't explain. When the world suddenly becomes stranger and filled with possibilities, that's what keeps us looking up. That's what keeps us asking questions. So whether you believe the Roswell crash was an alien encounter, a Cold War cover-up, or just strange accident of history, one thing is certain, it changed the conversation forever. The phrase flying saucer entered our vocabulary. The UFO community was born, and every strange light in the sky 24/7 has been judged by the shadows of Roswell. And maybe that's the real legacy, and not the debris in the desert, but the spark of wonder it ignited in all of us, because deep down we still want to know, are we alone in the universe? Are we just the latest chapter in a much larger story, one that began long before 1947 and still continues in the silence between the stars? Thank you for listening to You Think You Know UFOs channel. We respect you and appreciate you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for us, because the truth may not be out there. It might just be waiting right here. Top secret ending. The Boogosphere and Roswell connection. The Roswell UFO crash medals with hieroglyphics look eerily similar to the Sanskrit that was confirmed recently by scientists on the Boogosphere. Check out our other videos to see the common similarities and get the full story. This is pictures of the Boogosphere and video of recently confirmed Sanskrit on top of the Boogosphere. This is considered what they call the chip. It has connectors, 16 of them, which they think electromagnetically communicates through the Sanskrit and other forms of telecommunication through the electromagnetic capabilities and properties of the device. We may never know exactly what these devices are or what they're for.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these slow motion, yeah. I feel like an astronaut in the ocean.